Hi, Lenny.
Hi, Nancy.
Welcome to episode 93 of the Front Porch Book Club.
The Front Porch Book Club is a podcast that meets twice a month.
We like to dig deep into the relationship between characters and the worlds they live in.
Grab your book and iced tea and join us on the front porch. Welcome 2025, Nancy.
Oh, my goodness.
It's a new year.
Yay.
Well, the last several Januaries, we have picked self-help, self-improvement kind of books.
Right.
And last year, we chose The Real Work by Adam Gopnik. And that is a book that has stayed with me throughout the year. And I keep thinking about it and its principles. And you and I have talked about it from time to time.
Right.
And applying those principles to our daily life. And so I was excited that we chose this book, which was recommended by a listener. And I thought fascinating when he told me about it. And so I loved the book. I absolutely loved it. Thinking about personal happiness, Nancy, and what's going to make me happy is a happy topic for me. And so I dwindle all this down to what's going to make me happy in life. What do I want to achieve? Who am I? What's going to get me going? So as far as I'm concerned, New Year's resolutions and all that kind of stuff really does boil down to being happy.
Well, this book, I would say, is definitely right down your lane because it is evidence-based. This isn't just someone's good ideas of how to reach your goals in life. It really is based on all kinds of scientific evidence that I think for me really makes a difference, knowing that it's grounded in psychology and
neuroscience.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. All the good things. So I knew I would like it.
Yeah.
But our book is called Atomic Habits, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. This book is designed to reshape the way you think about progress and success and give you the tools and strategies you need to transform your habits, whether you're a team looking to win an Olympic medal, you're in business, or you simply want to quit smoking or lose weight or reduce stress or anything else. This is that book.
Exactly. The author, James Clear, is a writer and speaker focused on habits, decision-making, and continuous improvement. Atomic Habits has sold over 20 million copies worldwide and has been translated into more than 60 languages. Clear is known for his ability to distill complex topics into simple behaviors that can be easily applied to daily life and work. Here, he draws on the most proven ideas from biology, psychology, and neuroscience to create an easy-to-understand guide for making good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. Along the way, readers are inspired and entertained with true stories from Olympic gold medalists, award-winning artists, business leaders, life-saving physicians, and star comedians who have used the science of small habits to master their craft and vault them to the top of their field.
That sounds kind of complex. But I am going to tell you one thing that I liked about this book is it is so easy to read.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what grade level it's on, but it is an easy book to read. And he has such a great way of introducing the topic, exploring the topic, summarizing the topic, doing your key points at the end of each section. I really like the layout of this book. It seems like, oh, goals, this is really complicated. It really isn't. It's so hands-on. Like you can really apply this stuff easily when he gives you examples of it. When thinking about all these topics I want to talk to you about, Nancy, honestly, we could take one chapter and you and I could talk an hour about each one of these.
Yeah.
It's hard to go, oh, what do I really want to talk to Nancy about? But here's the thing. You have done so much of this right without even reading this book. I can think of so many examples of, oh, that's this for Nancy. Oh, she's done this. She's done this. She's done this. She's done this. First of all, I just want to hear, how did you like the book? And were you thinking, oh, I do a lot of these things right already?
I'll tell you what, I was actually familiar with a lot of this research before reading
Okay.
the book. And so there was not a lot of information here that was new to me. I guess I do try to apply some of these strategies in different ways. What I liked about his book was his idea that these can be linked and become a system, which I hadn't thought too much about. I had thought more about habits as isolated or individual actions that you can consciously take. For instance, when you link one habit with another, one habit that you do with a habit that you want to acquire.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of a system of habits to more closely become the kind of person you want to become, there was something about that that felt novel to me. So I did appreciate that. And like anything that we know consciously, the reminder of it, the reiteration, the stories from his own life and from other people's lives that help illustrate that bring new life and energy to it. So I really did like the book. When I got it from the library, I thought, wow, this is a really thick book. And I actually don't usually judge books by their thickness.
I do.
Oh.
I do.
But I thought, wow, I don't know if there's really going to be enough substance in this book to fill up a book that looks like this thick. But actually, the way it's typeset, it does move very quickly. It's wide margins, lots of space between the lines, and a fairly large font. And it feels like the amount of time it takes to read it fits the content. So, yes, I would recommend this book to anyone who's saying, boy, there are some things that I want to accomplish in my life, but I can't seem to accomplish it. His thesis is it's not lack of discipline, it's that you don't have a system in place to accomplish these goals. And I appreciate that perspective.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned identity. I think that's a good place to start, because that is, again, another area that I was like, that makes sense. And I hadn't really tied that in closely to goal setting.
Yeah.
So let's start with that. He writes, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single instance will transform your beliefs, but as the votes build up, so does the evidence of your new identity. This is a reason why meaningful change does not require radical change. Small habits can make a meaningful difference by providing evidence of a new identity. And if change is meaningful, it is actually big. That's the paradox of making small improvements. So he talks a lot about like a 1% change. These tiny changes, bam, you think of one little atom making a huge effect. So that's a key point in what he is getting at in much of the book. I have to ask you, Nancy, because you were a professional for so many years at the university, and then you retired, and then there's some kind of a new identity now. Your identity, I'm just wondering if you thought about do you have a new identity now? How is it different? How did you develop a new identity? And how do goals play into that?
Yeah, I think first that I'll say that I do think identity is really important to people's behaviors. I've read a lot of research around political identity
Oh,
and how that impacts people's political decisions. Identity is so central to what people believe and how they behave. It's really fascinating. People won't believe things that are clearly true, for example, if they identify with a group of people who don't believe them. Part of that is because we are social creatures and our identity is in part rooted in who we see as our peers. Back in the caveman days, we needed peers in order to survive. So that identity, I think, is really important. And I agree with you. I think when a lot of people leave a career, especially in the United States, careers are very central to people's identities. I would say in a way that they aren't to people in many other countries, in fact. But in our country, careers are very central to people's identities. There are many people, I think, when they retire, they have lost their identity, they've lost their meaning in life, not just their purpose. Your purpose might be your job for many people. So you're definitely not going to your job every day, but you lose your identity as well, which I think is even more bewildering for people than losing their routines of what they do every day. For me, no, it was actually no problem whatsoever because I had been thinking for a long time about all the things that I wanted to do once I retired that I could not do simply because I did not have the time, because I had a fairly demanding job. And switching over to a different identity, I wouldn't say that it was easy because in some ways I still don't feel like I have the right to embrace the identity that I want to claim because I don't feel like I have the credentials yet. I don't have the success yet, maybe, that I wish that I had. But I feel like I am actively trying to claim that identity.
One of the things that I think stands out there with your new identity is you have done lots of things to surround yourself with people who do claim that identity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a key point of what he says. I mean, it's a support system, but it also leads to success. If you want to quit smoking, don't hang out with the smokers during lunch break.
Right. Yeah.
So if I want to be a playwright, then I hang out with people in the theater and people who are reading other people's works and what all the things that you have done to create those groups, Nance.
Yeah. And then part of it is that once you're in those groups, new opportunities appear to meet other people and be in other groups. Yeah, that has been helpful. You know, other people who claim for themselves that they are writers or playwrights, and hanging out with them is reinforcing. How about you? When you think of identity, are there identities that you claim for yourself or you'd like to claim for yourself that resonated with you when you were reading this section about identity?
I like the converse of like the other side of all of these. And I tend to be more of a positive psychology thing. But what I
Mm-hmm.
found helpful was the reverse of that,
Mm.
how to stop the bad habit. So one of my bad habits is that I never say I'm tech savvy. So for the last 3 months, they have been trying to find people for the tech team at church. And I always go, not my ministry. But they keep begging for people to help. So I'm sitting at the back of the church and I'm looking at this tech team and they're nice people. And I'm like, I think I could learn to do something. I put my hat in the ring for that and I'm going to get trained on it. And that's in part because of this book, because I decided that the label was not 100%. There's people worse on the computer than I am. Labeling yourself is not typically healthy. It's good to know where your strengths and weaknesses lie in life, but it's good to set new goals
Yeah.
and to be helpful in life. So I'm going to learn how to do the live
I
stream
love it.
at church. So that is one new goal.
Well, I would say self-limiting labeling is not helpful.
Well,
I
that's
would,
self-limiting. Yes.
yeah, I would say positive labeling, he would say, is helpful if we are claiming positive labels for ourselves.
Right.
I like his labeling that I am X and these are the kinds of things that an X person does.
I loved that.
So, for instance, I am a healthy person and healthy people go for a walk every morning. This is the
Yes.
kind of thing healthy people do. And I am a healthy person. So, this is the kind of thing I do.
Okay. So, one of those things, you're going to find this is funny. So, one of the things that he said that resonated with me is that too. And I said, I was going for chips or a Christmas cookie or something like that. And I'm like, would a skinny person eat yet another Christmas cookie? And the answer would be no. So I put the snack away.
Oh my goodness. James Clear would be giving you a gold star. That's exactly it. Yeah.
So part of that principle is psychology. Act as if, or even drug and alcohol counseling, you act as if. I liked that principle a lot. And that has to do with identity.
Exactly. I think he would say that as you start to embrace that identity, then you do have opportunities to begin surrounding yourself with people. Like we were talking about me in writing, healthy people are people who go to the gym 3 times a week. That becomes part of your habit. Then you start meeting people at the gym who say hello to you. And even if you don't become great friends, you form relationships with those people. They expect to see you. I think that's all really good.
Yeah, really good stuff there. Well, a big part of the book are these 4 principles. Let's look at those. They're 4 laws. The first one is make it obvious. The second one is make it attractive. The third one is make it easy. And the fourth one is making it satisfying.
Make the habit obvious, make the habit attractive, make the habit easy, make the habit satisfying.
Yes. And then the reverse is true. Make the bad habit unsatisfying, make the bad habit unattractive, etc. So let's discuss these. One of my goals was to do more Red Cross stuff. One of the barriers to me doing that was that it's emergencies.
Yeah.
And so I would get a call and I'm like, oh, my cell phone's dead. Well, I need my cell phone to do the Red Cross thing because we're all on the computer now. And then I would go to see if I could use my computer. Oh, that would be dead too.
Oh, no.
And so I wouldn't be able to, I wasn't ready. And you have to be ready. So my husband got me the cord that would be plugged into my car so that if my phone was dead, I could charge it for a half hour till I got to the site.
Yeah.
It's that one small thing that changed everything.
Wow.
And so he does a lot with setting up the environment, with making the one small change, with what are the obstacles and how can you set yourself up for success. That's like an example of making it easy. So Nancy, do you have an example of anything like or how you've made it obvious, how you've made it attractive, how you've made it easy or satisfying? Now, here's the thing. I think of a lot of these for you. You have made your workspace attractive because you're working from home now. You don't go to the office. So you have put a lot of work into making your workspace attractive at home.
That's a really good point. I love spending time up here in my studio. That's true.
And that adds to your satisfaction. And it makes it easy because your stuff is all there. I don't have to clear the dining room table
right.
to begin to work. He talks about environment and make it set up so that the next time that you start that new habit, you're ready to roll. And all you have to do is grab your coffee and go to your studio and you're ready to roll. Everything is there ready for you.
Yeah, that's so true. You know, I have in the last 3 months or so, I feel like I've lost a little control over my schedule. I mean, I've allowed myself to lose control over my schedule. And some of the habits that I was really doing with great regularity. One thing that I started doing now is scheduling the time that I want to spend, for instance, writing, or scheduling the time that I want to go to the fitness center on my calendar to get back into the habit. Because if my calendar says now's the time you're going to be doing it, I know that if I don't do it, then I have to move it to another day. And that's inconvenient. So I would say, again, that's the converse. Like, that is unappealing to me, that I didn't do my task. And so I'm pushing it to the next day, or I'm deleting it. And in a way, that feels like I was defeated. I did not do the thing that I had set out to do that day. So I don't know how long I'll do that, but certainly to get back into making writing a priority that I do every day, I'm finding that that has been helpful for me to get back into, okay, I need to be writing every day. And I know when I'm playing tennis, I know when my meetings and other commitments are. So when does that happen? Every day.
And I get that. Now, here's the thing. He'll say, then you only have to do it 1 minute. Like, just show up. Like, you don't have to block 2 hours to do
Yeah.
your thing. You say, you know what? My commitment today was to write every day. That's my goal. So, you know what? I am going to go upstairs and I'm going to turn my computer on and I am going to write for 2 minutes. And then that 2 minutes becomes 3 minutes of, and all of a sudden, I
Right.
need to, and it becomes longer. But even if it's 2 minutes, your body, your mind has met that goal of, I have done this for 2 minutes. I have met my goal. Your mind knows that you have met that goal. You have met that goal. And so I really liked that part of it.
Yeah, that was really good, I thought, too. And I have definitely done that in writing, because I do agree. I just fool myself and I say, look, I'm just going to do it for 5 minutes. And I do like that. They always say that the hardest thing about exercising is putting on your sneakers. And it is. Once I have my sneakers on,
Yeah.
then it's inevitable. I did like his emphasis that if the habit that you're trying to create takes longer than 2 minutes, you're making it too hard.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah, and he gave a lot of examples of things like that you just need to get started. And then where does motivation come from, and all the breaking down of all of these different parts. I also liked the making it obvious, like make the goal obvious and then make the counterpart of that unobvious.
Like, give me an example of what you specifically like there, or how you think you might apply that.
Oh my golly, there's just so much. If I want to eat more fruit, then I put fruit on on a bowl, and I take the potato chips and I don't even buy them. You make it obvious that if you're hungry, that this is where you go. If you need a snack, this is the snack bowl or whatever. You just make things obvious. It can tie into environment. I think for me, the way I think about it, like setting up success and environment and the visual cues. He talks a lot about cues at the beginning of the book, and how cues can lead to behavior and reinforcement and all those behavioral Skinner, Pavlov dog kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That most people know about. So I like that. Oh, Nancy, I wanted to talk to you about flow, because we have talked about flow before, and I love flow, and I believe in flow, and he brings in flow.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to talk to you about tennis, but writing too, and all the other things where you may experience flow. So he ties this in with goals, which I thought was fantastic. So flow is basically you become immersed in something, you lose track of time and even your environment at some point. You're just totally absorbed. So what his research is looking at is that to be optimal in reaching your goals, you can get to that flow state. That's really where you're making a big impact. So, for example, tennis, if I am playing too easy of a player, I may not be motivated to do my best.
Right.
I probably am not going to become better because I'm playing someone too easy. If I play somebody too hard, that can be discouraging.
Yeah.
And you might start feeling bad about yourself and wanting to quit, because
Yeah.
who wants to be 0, 0, 0 all the time?
Right.
So he talks about this flow state and playing somebody just a little, in this example, somebody just a little bit better. Because if you play somebody just a little bit better, you might win.
Mm-hmm.
And you're more apt to experience flow.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you think about that at all, Dance?
Yeah, I do like tying in flow state with habits because I have found that when I get bored with a habit, it is very easy to let it dwindle away. I was thinking even specifically of our conversation. I think it was the most recent episode that I was talking about meditation and how I had just let that kind of drift away. I think part of it, when I read this section of the book, I thought, I think I was feeling a little bored with it, that somehow there just wasn't enough there for me to feel engaged in it. It's funny because meditation is exactly the kind of thing that a lot of people do experience flow state in, that they lose track of time. But somehow I was not getting to that state. So I am going to try to restart that meditation practice and see if I can make it a part of a weekly habit. He does actually use meditation as an example of a good habit multiple times throughout this book. Maybe I was too ambitious in thinking 30 minutes of meditation is what I should be doing. And his idea was maybe 1 minute of meditation would be an excellent goal.
Yeah. And you know what? When I started out, it was 1 minute. I do like near the end of the book, he does talk about being bored and slipping up and getting back at it. I think of Michael Phelps. This young man was probably swimming hours a day with his head underwater,
Yeah.
stroke after stroke after stroke. Now, runners at least can look at the mountains when they're running, right?
Right.
They can look at stop signs, the grass, the cows,
Right.
wherever they're running.
Right.
Swimmers are looking at water. They can't talk to anybody. They can't wave to anybody like a runner can.
Mm-hmm.
It is stroke after stroke after stroke. And what it takes to do that, how do you get to that level where you can just do that? And he says, look, those people are bored too,
Mm-hmm.
but they keep doing it. And I say, just keep showing up. Like, that's something that has really resonated with me over time. There are days they don't want to do it, but they overcome it and do it.
Yeah, I thought that was really good too. Just the acknowledgement that there are days for everyone at every level that they do not want to do the habit. They do not want to do the training. They do not want to do the whatever.
They want to have a piece of cake.
And you know what? They might have the piece of cake.
Right.
They may ditch their training that day. And he says for him, he just works really hard that he doesn't do any of those bad habits 2 days in a row. Because for him, once he strings together 2 days in a row, it's even harder for him to get back into the habit that is reflecting the identity that he wants to claim for himself.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. You can screw up or say, it's too rainy. I just can't run today. Or I'm just kind of sick. But you don't make that then your habit. You get after it. Or if you slide off your diet, it's like, well, I'm done for the day. I guess I'll have another piece of cake. No, you get right back on it. Now, Nancy, you fixed up your office space, but I've kind of fixed up mine too. I'm getting there.
It's looking great.
Yeah, so I was thinking of all of this, making my space attractive.
Hmm.
And I don't have the whole plan in place, but I can make 1% change. And what is that 1% change? I'm going to clean up the mess. Then I'm going to get a new chair. So you don't have to have this whole thing in place.
Hmm.
Just this 1% change, I think, is key in what he's talking about. And then that helps you to make other changes. And it has this ripple
Yeah.
effect. And this 1% change that you make, then the end of the year ends up being compounded so many times that it ends up changing your identity and goals.
Yeah, he talks about if you're leaving, for instance, from New York on a ship and you want to go to, I don't know, Portugal, if you are just 15 feet off when you leave New York Harbor and don't adjust, like you'll end up in Africa or something. So the idea is incremental difference for your target or for missing your target can be very small. And I do like the name of the book, Atomic Habits, because it's atomic in his telling that they're very, very small habits, 2 minutes a day, whatever, but they make explosive, radical changes in your life.
Yeah, really good book. Here's my recommendation. We have 1 month to read a book, which probably for most people seems like a doable task, but I had like 2 weeks to read
Yeah,
it.
over the holidays, in addition.
So I would have liked to have read one chapter at a time and really thought about it.
Yeah.
Even though it's easy reading, there's just so much good stuff in there. And then maybe journaled with it.
Yeah.
So I think that would be my recommendation for anybody picking it up. It's not just to read it through, like really apply it and think about it.
I totally agree. I also had to read this fairly quickly and over the holidays. And on top of it, I got it out of the library and I read the first 3 chapters. And there were so many things that I liked that I bookmarked them because I couldn't underline it because I didn't own the book, which I found frustrating because I really wanted to underline. And then I realized looking at my schedule that I was not going to be able to find enough time to read the book. And so then I listened to the audio book while I was exercising, which I got the content, but it did prevent me from having time to really assimilate a lot of what he was writing about. And I also couldn't underline, obviously, listening to the book. So I agree with you. I think a slower reading would be very helpful. I think I'm going to buy this book and it will be so I can underline it and I can really think about incorporating what habits can help a person accomplish.
Yeah, I like that idea to buy it because I did get this on my Kindle. And again, it's a little bit more awkward there than being able to flip through it and go, oh, yeah, this is really good. But a book would have been, I think, more helpful to me too.
You know, the other thing that I liked overall about this book, and I don't think that he really addressed it explicitly, but the idea of habits is that these are things that you do almost, he calls it non-consciously, that it becomes a part of your routine. I think that what that removes is, do I feel like it? It removes the cognitive load of, am I going to do it? And then the emotional load, and do I feel like doing it? And that's probably part of making it easy, right? There's not a decision that you're making. And then there's not this self scan of, yeah, but do I want to do it? That you just do it. A lot of good habits, it's easy to say you don't feel like it. Like, I don't feel like eating healthy. I don't feel like going to the gym. I don't feel like doing a hard thing. And this just removes all of that. It's just like, oh, well, now I'm doing this thing. I always do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really good point, isn't it?
So part of this book also made me think about an idea that I've been toying with, and that is my identity as an athlete.
Nancy, I was going to say that.
Really?
I was gonna say that. I've been thinking about that, and I was gonna say it to you today.
What were you going to say?
Do you see your identity as being an athlete? You go to the gym constantly and you work out, you play tennis just about every day.
Mm-hmm.
I think your label is that you're an athlete now, but I don't know that I think that you see yourself as an athlete.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Over the last couple years, every once in a while, someone will say something like, oh, well, you're so athletic. And my response is always, I'm not athletic. And then they would protest, yes, you are. You're really athletic.
Right. You don't really know me.
And I would say, I've never been athletic. This has happened enough times that I have started questioning myself and thinking, is it possible for me to reconsider my self-image and to claim for myself that I am an athlete? And I can barely get those words out because my entire life I have said, well, I'm not athletic. I'm getting closer, I would say, to claiming that for myself.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. You're athletic now.
I think for me, athletic implies a certain prowess that I feel that I lack. But maybe I need to claim that, one, maybe prowess isn't as important. It's more in the doing.
I agree. And that's a new identity for you.
Yeah, it's not, I feel that I have adopted it yet. It feels like a shirt that doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if that changes, Nancy.
But isn't it interesting, though, when people, so my example was this example of people saying, oh, well, you're athletic. Isn't it interesting when other people see an identity for you that you do not see for yourself, and how if it happens a couple times, you start reconsidering yourself. Wait a second. That's something that other people are seeing in me. Is that true of me? And it could be that it's not true of you. It could be that they're wrong. But it could be that they're seeing something in you that you have not seen for yourself.
I think it's exciting. Well, Nancy, we still have much to discuss with this book. We chipped away at big parts of it and how we are doing with goals and things like that. And I'm looking forward to our next episode.
Yeah, me too. Well, everyone, thanks for listening. Our website is frontporchbookclub.com.
Our episodes come out twice a month on the first and third Wednesday of each month.
See you next time, Lenny.
See you next time.